In a bustling Dallas airport, Ruth Jackson, a frail black woman, collapses mid-boarding, her chest heaving as passengers gasp in horror. Vanessa Reed, a smug white flight attendant, yanks her off the plane, sneering about disorderly conduct. 5 minutes later, Vanessa's smirk vanishes. She's fired mid-cabin, shamed before all. Yet this is only the beginning. Ruth's quiet strength conceals a secret that will torch Vanessa's life, igniting a racial storm with echoes far beyond today. What could one old lady unleash? Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from. If you stand for justice, hit like, subscribe, and join us for more gripping tales. Vanessa Reed stood at the front of the Boeing 737, her navy blue uniform pristine, her blonde hair pulled into a tight bun that matched her tighter smirk. At 38, she'd spent 10 years climbing the ranks at Horizon Airlines, her sharp hazel eyes scanning every passenger boarding this flight from Dallas to Chicago. She thrived on order, on the crisp click of her polished black heels against the cabin floor, on the way her authority silenced whining travelers. Today, with the plane packed to capacity, she was in her element, clipboard in hand, barking commands to keep the line moving. Then Ruth Jackson stepped aboard, and Vanessa's world tilted. Ruth was 72, her dark skin etched with lines of a life hard-lived, her thin frame stooped under the weight of arthritis that gnawed at her joints. She wore a faded gray coat, threadbare but spotless, and clutched a small canvas bag with knobby fingers. Her silver hair was swept back in a simple knot, and her brown eyes flickered with a quiet search for her seat. She moved slow, deliberate, each step a small victory over the pain that stiffened her legs. To Vanessa, Ruth didn't belong. No, first-class passenger looked like this. Not this black woman in worn clothes, hobbling like she'd wandered off a bus station bench. Vanessa's lip curled. She'd seen her type before, confused old folks clogging up her perfectly timed boarding process. "Keep it moving," Vanessa snapped, her voice cutting through the hum of settling passengers. Ruth paused, her breath catching as she fumbled with her bag, then stumbled forward, one hand flying to her chest. A sharp wheeze escaped her lips, and she crumpled to one knee, her bag thudding to the floor. Gasps rippled through the cabin. A young woman in row 5 stood, reaching out, but Vanessa was faster. She strode over, her heels clicking like gunfire, and loomed above Ruth, arms crossed. "Ma'am, you're holding up the flight. If you're sick, you shouldn't be here." Ruth's head lifted, her eyes meeting Vanessa's with a steadiness that prickled the flight attendant's skin. "I have a ticket," she rasped, her voice soft but firm, digging into her coat pocket with trembling fingers. Vanessa didn't wait. She snatched the boarding pass Ruth held out, barely glancing at it. "This says first class. Economy's that way." She thrust the paper back, her tone dripping with condescension. Ruth's lips pressed into a thin line, her grip tightening on her bag's strap. "It's first class," she repeated, quieter but unyielding. "Seat 2A." Vanessa's forced smile twitched. She'd dealt with plenty of passengers who didn't know their place, and this one, with her shaky hands and cheap coat, was no exception. "There's a mistake," Vanessa said, her patience fraying like a worn thread. "First class is for premium passengers. Step aside." Ruth didn't budge, just stood there, a frail statue in the aisle, as if waiting for Vanessa to see reason. The silence stretched too long, heavy and electric. Passengers shifted, some craning their necks, others pulling out phones. Vanessa's jaw tightened. She didn't have time for this nonsense. "Ma'am, move now, or you're off this plane," she said, her voice rising, edged with steel. Ruth took a slow breath, glanced at her ticket one last time, then looked up. "I paid for this seat," she said, each word deliberate. That was it. Vanessa's patience snapped. "You're done," she barked, grabbing Ruth's arm. The old woman flinched, her frail body stiffening, but Vanessa didn't care. She yanked Ruth toward the exit, ignoring the protests bubbling behind her. "Disorderly conduct," she muttered, loud enough for nearby rows to hear. Ruth stumbled again, her chest heaving, but Vanessa kept pulling, her grip bruising. Halfway down the aisle, Ruth's legs buckled fully, and she hit the floor with a thud that silenced the cabin. Vanessa froze for a split second, then doubled down. "Get up," she hissed, hauling Ruth to her feet. The old woman's wheeze grew louder, her face contorting, but Vanessa shoved her toward the jet bridge door. "You don't belong here." Ruth clutched her chest, her eyes glistening with pain, yet she didn't fight back. She let Vanessa push her out, her bag dragging behind her like a defeated flag. The door slammed shut, and Vanessa turned back to the cabin, brushing her hands together with a satisfied breath. Order restored. But something was wrong. The air felt thick, charged. Passengers weren't settling in. A low buzz of voices spread, sharp and accusing. Vanessa adjusted her uniform, smoothing the creases, and plastered on her professional grin. "Let's get ready for takeoff, folks," she called, her voice bright but brittle. No one moved. Eyes bored into her, some wide with shock, others narrow with fury. In row 3, a man stood out, a towering figure in a charcoal suit, his broad shoulders tense, his dark skin gleaming under the cabin lights. Marcus Jackson, 42, watched her silently. His chiseled jaw clenched so tight, a vein pulsed at his temple. Vanessa barely registered him, just another first-class suit, probably annoyed at the delay. She'd handled worse. Minutes ticked by, the tension coiling tighter. Then the intercom crackled, and the captain's voice boomed, clipped and final. "This is Captain Torres. Vanessa Reed, you're relieved of duty, effective immediately. Exit the aircraft." Vanessa's stomach lurched, her clipboard slipped clattering to the floor. Fired? In front of everyone? Her head whipped toward the cockpit, then back to the passengers, who stared like wolves circling prey. Marcus hadn't moved, his gaze locked on her, unreadable but searing. Laughter broke out in row 8, a harsh, mocking sound that spread like wildfire. Vanessa's cheeks burned, her fists clenching. This couldn't be happening. She'd followed protocol. She'd kept control. She stormed down the aisle, her heels pounding, her mind racing. This was a mistake, a glitch she'd fix with a quick call to HR. She'd been too good for too long to lose everything over some old lady's tantrum. As she reached the jet bridge, she pulled out her phone, ready to dial her supervisor. Then it buzzed, a flood of notifications lighting up the screen. Twitter was ablaze. Racist flight attendant throws black grandma off plane. Horizon, airline's monster caught on video. The clip was everywhere, 10,000 views in minutes. Ruth's collapse replayed in grainy detail. Vanessa's sneer frozen mid-frame. Comments piled up, vicious and unrelenting. "She's done. Jail. Her racist trash." Vanessa's breath hitched, her fingers trembling as she scrolled. The video didn't lie. It didn't soften the truth. Her dragging Ruth, barking orders, dismissing her ticket. It all looked worse than she'd meant. The racial undertone screamed. Through every pixel, her white hands on Ruth's black arm, a stark, ugly contrast. She'd assumed Ruth didn't fit, and now the world saw it too. Her phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. "You're finished, bigot." Then another. "Watch your back." She stumbled into the jet bridge, her chest tight, her smugness dissolving into a cold sweat. This wasn't just a firing. This was war. Back in the cabin, Marcus Jackson unbuckled his seatbelt with deliberate calm, his 6'3" frame unfolding as he stood. Passengers watched, hushed, as he adjusted his cufflinks, his silence louder than any shout. He'd seen it all. His mother's pain, Vanessa's arrogance, and he'd already made his move. As Horizon's chief operating officer, he texted the captain from his seat, his authority absolute. But this was personal too. Ruth wasn't just any passenger. She was his blood, and Vanessa had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. He stepped toward the cockpit, his plan already in motion, while outside the internet roared to life, a beast Vanessa couldn't outrun. She reached the terminal gate, her heart pounding, still clinging to the belief she could talk her way out. She didn't see the crowd forming, didn't hear the chants swelling beyond the glass. She thought she'd hit bottom, that this was the worst of it. She was wrong. Marcus had only begun, and the storm he'd unleashed would bury her alive. Her phone buzzed again, a news alert. Flight attendant fired after racist outburst. Video goes viral. Vanessa's knees weakened. 5 minutes ago, she'd been untouchable. Now she was a target, and the world was closing in. Vanessa Reed stumbled out of the jet bridge into the Dallas terminal, her navy blazer swapped for a wrinkled gray hoodie, her blonde bun unraveling into a messy tangle. Her firing still burned in her chest, a raw, jagged wound, but she clung to a shred of defiance. This was a fluke, a knee-jerk reaction from some spineless captain bowing to passenger whining. She'd call her union rep, flash her 10-year record, and be back in the air by next week. Her lips twitched into a smirk as she pictured Ruth Jackson, that frail old woman shuffling off in defeat. Vanessa had won, hadn't she? She'd kept control, shown who ran the show. The thought steadied her as she strode toward the crew exit, her phone buzzing nonstop in her pocket. But the terminal wasn't quiet. A low rumble grew, like thunder rolling closer, and Vanessa's smirk faltered. She rounded a corner and froze. A mob waited, 50 strong, mostly black and brown faces, their eyes blazing with a fury that pinned her in place. They clutched phones, some holding signs scrawled with, "Justice for Ruth," in bold red marker. A tall man in a leather jacket stepped forward, his voice booming. "There she is, the racist who threw out an old lady." Vanessa's stomach dropped. Her firing was one thing, but this was chaos she hadn't bargained for. "It was a mistake," she shouted, her voice cracking as she backed up. The crowd surged, a woman in a green scarf hurling a soda can that grazed Vanessa's shoulder, sticky liquid splattering her hoodie. Trash flew next, crumpled napkins, coffee cups, a half-eaten burger smacking her cheek. "You don't belong. Here!" a teenage girl yelled, her braids swinging as she lobbed a water bottle. Vanessa ducked, her arm shielding her face, but the barrage didn't stop. Her phone buzzed again and she yanked it out, hands trembling. Twitter was a war zone. The video of her dragging Ruth had hit 10,000 views in minutes, now climbing to 20,000. "Vanessa Reed is a disgrace," one tweet read. "Lock her up," said another with a photo of Ruth's crumpled form, mid-collapse. Death threats flooded her texts, numbers she didn't recognize promising pain. "You're dead, bigot. We know where you live." Her breath hitched, her smugness dissolving into a cold, clawing panic. She bolted, shoving through the edge of the crowd, their shouts chasing her like hounds. "Coward! Face what you did!" A man grabbed her sleeve, ripping it as she twisted free, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. She darted past a security desk, expecting help, but the guard, a stocky Latino with a buzz cut, just watched, his arms crossed, his lips curled in disgust. No one was coming to save her. She broke into a sprint, weaving through travelers who stared, some pointing, others filming. Her chest heaved, her ribs aching from the run, but she didn't stop until she reached a service corridor, slamming the door behind her. Leaning against the wall, she gasped for air, her mind spinning. She'd fix this. She had to. Her phone lit up again, a news alert this time. Horizon Airlines flight attendant fired after viral video shows racist assault on elderly black passenger. The headline punched the air from her lungs. Assault? She hadn't assaulted anyone, she'd just removed a problem. But the video told a different story. Her white hands yanking Ruth's dark arm, her sneer loud and clear. The racial line was drawn in neon, and Vanessa was on the wrong side. She scrolled, her fingers shaking. Comments piled up, thousands now, calling her a monster, a relic of hate. She thought she could get away with it, one said. Not today, another replied with a fist emoji. Her smirk was gone, replaced by a grimace. This wasn't just a firing anymore. This was a public execution. Back on the plane, Marcus Jackson sat in row 3, his charcoal suit unwrinkled, his broad hands folded calmly in his lap. He'd watched Vanessa's exit, her heels pounding the aisle, her face flushed with shock. He hadn't said a word, hadn't needed to. As Horizon's chief operating officer, he'd sent one text to the captain, and Vanessa was gone. But that was only the start. His mother, Ruth, was in the terminal now, wheeled to a medic by a gate agent, her chest still tight from the ordeal. Marcus's jaw clenched, a vein throbbing at his temple. Vanessa didn't know who she'd crossed, didn't know the power he held, or the pain she'd inflicted. He pulled out his phone, his fingers swift, sending a message to HR. Blacklist, Vanessa Reed, all airlines effective now. His eyes narrowed. She'd pay, and this mob was just the appetizer. Vanessa caught her breath in the corridor, her back pressed to the cold metal door. The chants outside grew louder. "Ruth! Ruth! Ruth!" Echoing through the terminal like a battle cry. She peeked through a small window, her heart sinking. The crowd had doubled, maybe 100 now, their signs waving, their phones flashing. She'd thought she'd won, thought she'd kept order, but this was chaos she couldn't control. Her phone buzzed again, a friend's name popping up. Jake. Relief flooded her. He'd help. She answered, her voice shaky. "Jake, you've got to get me out of here." Silence, then his voice cold as ice. "You're on your own, Vanessa. That video, you're done." The line went dead. Her knees buckled, but she caught herself, gripping the wall. Done? No, she wasn't done. She'd fight this, call her union, her lawyer, someone. She straightened, forcing her breath to steady. This was a hiccup, a PR mess she'd spin. She'd faced worse, right? But as she stepped back into the terminal, a new wave of shouts hit her, the mob spotting her through the glass. "There she is!" they charged. A tidal wave of rage, and Vanessa ran again, her sneakers slipping, her hoodie soaked with sweat and soda. She didn't see Marcus's next move, didn't know he'd already sealed her fate. She thought this was rock bottom. She was wrong. Hey folks, what do you think? Was Vanessa's smugness her own undoing, or did the crowd go too far? Comment number 1 if you think she deserved this wake-up call. Number 2 if you say the mob crossed a line. Hit that like button if you're hooked on this wild ride, and subscribe to catch every twist coming your way. Has a single mistake ever spiraled this fast for you? Share below. Now, here's the big question. Can Vanessa claw her way out of this mess, or is something even darker waiting around the corner? Vanessa Reed burst through the service corridor door, her sneakers skidding on the linoleum as she raced toward the crew lounge, her gray hoodie damp with sweat and soda stains. Her breath came in ragged bursts, her mind a whirlwind of defiance and desperation. The mob's shouts still echoed in her ears, their trash pelting her like a hailstorm, but she shoved it down. She'd fix this. She had 10 years at Horizon Airlines, a spotless record, a union that owed her. That firing was a fluke, a panicked overreaction to a viral video. She'd call Carl, her union rep, and he'd have her back. He had to. She'd paid her dues, followed every rule, kept every flight in line. This wasn't over. The lounge loomed ahead, a beige door tucked behind a vending machine, a sanctuary for crew between shifts. Vanessa shoved it open, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the air thick with coffee and stale donuts. A few flight attendants glanced up from their phones, their chatter dying as they saw her. She ignored them, her hazel eyes darting to a corner table where she dropped her bag, yanking out her phone. Her fingers trembled as she dialed Carl, her lifeline, a gruff ex-pilot who'd fought for her during a scheduling dispute 3 years back. The line rang once, twice, then clicked. "Carl, it's Vanessa," she blurted, her voice tight. "They fired me right there on the plane. You've got to help me." Silence stretched, heavy and wrong. Then Carl's voice came, curt, clipped, like he was spitting out bad news he'd rehearsed. "I saw the video, Vanessa. You're toxic. Union can't touch this." Her stomach twisted, a cold knot forming. "What?" "No, listen, it was a misunderstanding." She collapsed. "I thought she was faking. I was keeping order." Her words tumbled out, fast and pleading. 10 years, Carl. No write-ups, no complaints. You know me." He sighed, a sound that cut deeper than any shout. "Doesn't matter. It's a racial PR nightmare. Horizon's cutting you loose, and we're not burning bridges for you. Sorry." The line went dead. Vanessa stared at the phone, her breath shallow, her pulse hammering in her ears. Sorry. That was it? She'd paid dues every month, sat through his boring union meetings, trusted him to fight for her. Her knees wobbled, but she locked them, refusing to collapse. This wasn't happening. She redialed, her thumb jabbing the screen, but it went straight to voicemail. "Carl, call me back. You owe me." she hissed, slamming the phone down. The lounge was silent now, every eye on her. She turned, catching the stares, a mix of pity and disgust. Laura, a young redhead she'd trained, looked away, her coffee cup trembling. No one spoke. No one moved. The door swung open, and a supervisor stepped in, a wiry woman named Diane with a pinched face and a navy suit. She clutched a tablet, her lips a thin line. "Vanessa Reed?" she asked, though she knew damn well who Vanessa was. Vanessa straightened, forcing her voice steady. "Yeah, that's me. What's this about?" Diane's eyes flicked to the tablet, then back up, cold and unyielding. "You're no longer employed with Horizon Airlines. Hand over your badge and uniform, now." Vanessa's jaw dropped. "I just got fired 5 minutes ago. You can't do this here." Diane didn't blink. "Orders from upstairs. You're done. Let's make this quick." Vanessa's hands clenched into fists, her nails digging into her palms. Upstairs? This was Marcus Jackson's doing, that suit from row 3, pulling strings she couldn't see. She'd heard of him, the COO, a big shot who rarely flew commercial. But why this? Over his mother? Her mind raced, but Diane stepped closer, impatient. "Badge, uniform. I won't ask again." The lounge crew watched, a silent jury, as Vanessa fumbled in her bag, pulling out her ID badge, the silver wings glinting under the lights. She'd earned that, fought for it, worn it with pride. Now it felt like a shackle. She tossed it onto the table, the clatter loud in the stillness. Diane tapped her tablet, then pointed to the hoodie. "Uniform too. You're not leaving in. Company property." Vanessa's face burned. "I'm not stripping here." Diane's eyebrow arched. "You can change in the locker room, but it's coming off." The room tilted, humiliation clawing at Vanessa's chest. She grabbed her bag, storming to the lockers, her sneakers squeaking. Inside, she ripped off the hoodie, revealing a plain, white tee underneath, and yanked her old navy blazer from the bag, the one she'd worn on her last shift. She folded it, her hands shaking, and shoved it at Diane, who took it without a word, her face a mask of indifference. Back in the lounge, Diane handed her a termination slip, a single page that felt heavier than stone. "Sign it," she said. Vanessa scanned it, her eyes blurring. "Conduct violation. Immediate dismissal." No appeal, no review, just gone. She scrawled her name, her pen digging into the paper, then thrust it back. Diane nodded, turning to leave but not before adding, "Don't come back." The door clicked shut, and Vanessa stood there, the silence suffocating. Laura whispered something to another attendant, their heads bent together, but no one approached her. She was a ghost now, erased from the crew she'd once commanded. Outside, the terminal roared back to life. Vanessa stepped into the chaos, her bag slung over her shoulder, her white tee stark against the crowd. The mob had grown, their chants sharper, louder. "Justice for Ruth! Justice for Ruth!" Signs bobbed above heads, some with Ruth's face, her pained expression from the video blown up in black and white. Vanessa's throat tightened. She'd thought the union would shield her, that the system she'd served would fight for her, but Marcus had turned it against her, his power seeping into every crack. Her phone buzzed, a news alert. Horizon Airlines cuts ties with racist flight attendant amid protests. Her name was trending, a hashtag now, or Vanessa Reed racist, with thousands of posts, each one a knife. She ducked into a bathroom, splashing water on her face, her reflection a stranger's, pale and hollow. She'd been untouchable, a queen of the skies, enforcing rules with an iron grip. Now the system she'd trusted spat her out, and the racial fire she'd lit was burning her alive. Protesters pounded on the glass outside, their numbers swelling, 100 voices merging into a single furious roar. She'd thought she could talk her way out, lean on her record, her union, her authority. But Marcus had outplayed her, and the crowd was his army. Her chest heaved, a sob catching in her throat. This wasn't the end, she told herself. She'd find a way. But as the chants grew, shaking the walls, she knew the truth. This was only the beginning of her fall. Vanessa Reed slumped against the bathroom sink, the cold porcelain biting into her palms as water dripped from her face, mixing with the sweat and soda still clinging to her skin. The chants outside the Dallas terminal pounded through the walls. Justice for Ruth, a relentless drumbeat that matched the throb in her skull. Her white tee clung to her chest, her bag a crumpled heap on the tiled floor. The union had ditched her, the airline had erased her, and the mob wanted her head. But she wasn't done. Not yet. She straightened, her hazel eyes narrowing in the mirror. She'd fight back, sue Horizon for wrongful termination. Prove this was a setup. She'd beaten worse odds before, hadn't she? She fished her phone from her bag, ignoring the flood of hate texts, and scrolled for Tom Hargrove, a bulldog lawyer she'd met at a crew party 2 years back. He'd bragged about winning unwinnable cases, his gravelly voice promising victories over coffee and stale cookies. She dialed, her pulse racing, and he picked up on the third ring. "Tom, it's Vanessa Reed. I need you. Horizon fired me over nothing, and it's blowing up online. Can you sue them?" Her words spilled out, sharp and desperate. Tom grunted, his tone wary. "Saw the video. Messy. What's your angle?" She seized it. "The old lady collapsed. I thought she was faking to delay the flight. I followed protocol. They overreacted." A pause, then, "Meet me in an hour. Downtown office, bring everything." Vanessa hung up, a spark of triumph flaring in her chest. She'd show them. She grabbed her bag, slipped out a side exit, and hailed a cab. The driver's eyes flicking to her in the rear view, recognition dawning. "You're that flight attendant," he muttered, a black man with graying temples. She bristled but nodded, keeping her voice steady. "Just drive." The cab pulled away, the terminal's chaos fading behind her, and she let herself breathe. Tom would fix this. She had evidence, the boarding pass mix-up, her years of service. She'd win, clear her name, maybe even get her job back. The thought steadied her as the city blurred past, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. Tom's office was a cramped box above a deli, the air thick with cigarette smoke and cheap cologne. He sat behind a scarred desk, a stocky man in his 50s, his tie loose, his gray hair thinning. Papers littered the floor, a fan humming in the corner. Vanessa dropped into a chair, her bag thudding beside her, and launched into her story, her voice rising with every detail. "She wouldn't move, Tom. I checked her ticket, it looked off, and she collapsed. I had to act. They can't fire me for that." Tom leaned back, steepling his fingers, his blue eyes sharp. "Protocol's thin, but we've got something. Video shows her stumbling first. Could argue you acted in good faith. Wrongful termination, maybe defamation. We'll hit Horizon hard." Vanessa's smirk widened. She handed over her termination slip, her old schedules, a photo of Ruth's boarding pass she'd snapped before tossing it back. Tom scribbled notes muttering about discovery and depositions, and she felt the ground steady beneath her. "How long?" she asked, leaning forward. "Weeks, maybe a month. We'll file today. Get an injunction to freeze their blacklisting." She nodded, her chest loosening. Weeks she could handle. She'd hide out, let Tom work, then walk back into Horizon with her head high. She stood, shaking his hand, her grip firm. "Do it," she said, and left, the deli's meaty scent trailing her out. But as she stepped onto the sidewalk, her phone rang, Tom's name flashing. She answered, her smirk still in place. "Yeah?" His voice was tight, urgent. "Vanessa, we've got a problem. Horizon just countersued. Defamation and emotional distress, claiming you ignored medical evidence. They've got Ruth's records, heart condition says you endangered her life." Vanessa's smirk vanished, her knees locking. "What? I didn't know," Tom cut in. "Doesn't matter. They've got security footage too, angles we didn't. See, you look like a bully. And Marcus Jackson's behind it, their COO. This is personal." Her breath stopped. "Marcus. That suit from row 3. Ruth's son." Before she could speak, a news van screeched up, a reporter leaping out, mic thrust in her face. "Vanessa Reed. Horizon says you nearly killed an elderly passenger. Any comment?" She recoiled, her bag slipping, but the camera rolled, catching her stunned silence. Tom's voice crackled through the phone. They leaked it all. Videos everywhere, worse than before. I'm out, Vanessa. This is unwinnable. The line went dead. She stared at the reporter, her mind blank, then bolted, shoving past as the crowd swelled, phones flashing. "Murderer!" someone yelled, a white woman with a stroller. "Racist!" shouted a black teen, his fist raised. Her cab was gone, the driver peeling out, leaving her exposed. She ran, her sneakers pounding the pavement, her lungs burning. The new footage hit her phone, a notification she couldn't ignore. She ducked into an alley, pressing play, her hands shaking. There it was, crystal clear, a side angle from the jet bridge. Ruth's face twisted in pain, her wheeze audible, Vanessa's sneer louder than ever as she yanked her arm. "You don't belong here," her own voice echoed, cold and final. The clip cut to Ruth on a stretcher, medics swarming, then Marcus's stoic face, his suit pristine, his silence damning. Comments exploded. She knew and didn't care. Death penalty for her. Her stomach churned, bile rising. This wasn't her. Was it? The alley's shadows offered no refuge. Footsteps echoed behind her, the mob from the terminal tracking. Her scent. She stumbled out, her apartment 3 blocks away, her last safe haven. But as she reached the street, glass shattered ahead, a brick smashing through her ground floor window. Protesters swarmed her building, a dozen strong. There, shouts a deafening roar. "Vanessa Reed, come out!" A Molotov cocktail arced through the air, flames licking the curtains she'd hung last year. Her heart stopped. She'd thought she'd won, thought Tom's lawsuit would turn it around. But Marcus had struck back, harder, faster, his countersuit, a blade she couldn't dodge. She backed away, her bag slipping to the ground, her white tee a beacon in the dusk. The fire spread, smoke billowing, her apartment a pyre. Sirens wailed, distant but closing, and the mob turned, spotting her. "There!" a man bellowed, his dreadlocks swinging as he charged. She ran again, her ribs aching, her mind screaming. Marcus hadn't just sued her. He'd unleashed hell, twisting her into a monster for the world to hate. The footage wasn't a defense, it was a death sentence. Her victory, her smug little plan, was ash now, and the racial storm she'd ignited was swallowing her whole. She thought she'd hit him back. She'd only lit the fuse. Vanessa Reed sprinted through the Dallas streets, her sneakers slapping wet pavement as smoke from her burning apartment stung her eyes, the protesters' roars fading into a dull hum behind her. Her white tee was soaked with sweat, her bag lost. In the chaos, her ribs throbbing from the run. The Molotov cocktail's flames danced in her mind, a vivid orange scar on her crumbling life. She'd thought she could sue Horizon, reclaim her ground, but Marcus Jackson's countersuit had torched that hope, and now her home was gone too. Her breath hitched, her lungs raw, but she didn't stop. She needed shelter, someone to lean on. Her sister, Lila, was her last lifeline, 30 miles away in Plano. She'd help. She had to. Vanessa ducked into a gas station, the clerk's bored stare flicking over her as she fumbled for a prepaid phone from the rack, her own device dead somewhere in the alley. She paid with crumpled bills from her pocket, hands shaking, and dialed Lila's number, memorized from childhood. The line rang, each tone a lifeline. Lila picked up, her voice soft, hesitant. "Vanessa?" Relief flooded her. "Lila, it's me. My apartment's gone. Protesters burned it. I need to crash with you just for a night." Silence stretched, thick and heavy. "Lila," she pressed, her voice cracking. "Say something." Lila's breath hitched, a sob breaking through. "I can't, Vanessa. Jamal saw the video, he's furious. Says you're a disgrace, won't let you near the kids." Vanessa's stomach plummeted. Jamal, Lila's black husband, a quiet engineer she'd always liked. "What?" "It was a mistake, I didn't mean it like that," she pleaded, her words tumbling over each other. "Tell him I'm not racist, I just messed up." Lila's voice hardened, edged with tears. "He doesn't care. Neither do I, not after what you did. Don't call again." The line clicked off, a guillotine dropping. Vanessa stared at the phone, her chest caving in. Her sister, her rock, gone. She stumbled out, the night air biting her skin, and dialed Jake, her oldest friend, a mechanic who'd stuck by her through breakups and layoffs. His voice answered, gruff, but familiar. "Jake, it's Vanessa. I'm in deep. I need you." A pause, then ice. "Saw the footage, Vanessa? Dragging that old lady? You brought this on yourself. I'm out." The call ended, his words a slap she couldn't dodge. She sank against the gas station wall, her knees buckling, the prepaid phone slipping to the concrete. Her family, her friends, all severed in minutes. She was alone, truly alone. The racial storm she'd sparked cutting every tie. Her eyes darted to a flickering TV through the station window, a news ticker scrolling. Vanessa Reed, History of Racism Uncovered. Her heart stopped. She staggered inside, the clerk grunting as she gripped the counter, staring at the screen. A grainy photo flashed, her at 25 laughing at a bar captioned with a quote, "They don't belong in first class." Fake. She'd never said it, never posed like that. Another clip rolled, her voice distorted, complaining about those people on flights. Lies, all lies, stitched together by someone with power. Marcus. His team had dug into her past, or invented it, turning her into a caricature of hate. The anchor's voice droned. "Reed's pattern of bigotry spans years, sources say." Vanessa's knees gave out, her hands clawing the counter. Sources? She had no history, no pattern, just one bad day. But Marcus didn't care about truth. He wanted blood. Her phone buzzed, forgotten in her pocket, a text from an unknown number. "You'll pay for every flight you ruined." Another. "Your grave's next." She dropped it, the screen cracking on the floor. The clerk muttered, "Get out," but she barely heard, her vision blurring. Outside, tires screeched, a pickup truck swerving close, a brick hurtling through. The air. It smashed the gas station window beside her, glass raining down. The word justice scrawled in black ink across the red clay. She ran again, her ribs screaming, her breath a ragged sob. A cheap motel loomed ahead, its neon sign buzzing vacancy, and she stumbled inside, slapping her last 20 on the counter. The clerk, a wiry woman with tired eyes, handed her a key without a word. Room 12, a musty box with peeling wallpaper and a sagging bed. Vanessa locked the door, collapsing onto the mattress, her body shaking. She'd thought Lila would save her, that Jake would stand by her, but Marcus had poisoned everything. Her past, her present, twisted into a noose tightening around her neck. The TV flickered on, a local channel replaying the fake clips, the anchor's voice smug. Reed's actions on Flight 217 were no anomaly, experts say. Experts? She laughed, a brittle, broken sound. Marcus's reach was endless, his money buying lies that stuck. Her phone buzzed again, the cracked screen, lighting up with a news alert. Protests spread as Vanessa Reed's racist past exposed. The brick's message burned in her mind. Justice for Ruth. A chant now echoing nationwide. She'd thought she could hide, regroup, but Marcus had turned her into a pariah, a symbol of everything wrong. Her family's rejection was just the start. His real blow was this smear. A wound she couldn't outrun. She curled into a ball, the motel bed creaking, her sobs muffled by the thin pillow. She'd been a queen once, ruling the skies, her authority absolute. Now she was nothing, a target for a nation's rage, her white skin a brand that marked her guilty. Marcus hadn't just fired her, he'd dismantled her life piece by piece, and she'd given him the ammunition. The racial fire she'd lit with Ruth was consuming her, and the brick was a warning. She thought she'd hit bottom, thought isolation was the worst. But as the TV droned on, she knew Marcus wasn't done. The next strike was coming, and it would be worse. Hey folks, what's your take on this twist? Did Vanessa deserve to lose her family over one mistake, or is Marcus playing too dirty? Comment number 1 if you think she's paying a fair price for her arrogance. Number 2 if you say Marcus's lies are crossing the line. Hit that like button if you're gripped by this downfall, and subscribe to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Ever had someone twist your past against you? Tell us below. Now buckle up. Will Vanessa find a way to fight back, or is Marcus about to drop an even deadlier bomb? Vanessa Reed lay curled on the motel bed, the thin blanket scratchy against her skin, the cracked prepaid phone buzzing beside her like a trapped wasp. The room smelled of mildew and despair, the TV's flicker casting shadows across peeling wallpaper. Her ribs ached from running, her white tee stiff with dried sweat, her blonde hair a tangled mess. Lila's rejection stung, Jake's abandonment burned, and Marcus Jackson's fake clips had turned her past into a lie she couldn't escape. The brick through the gas station window replayed in her mind. Justice scrawled in black, a promise of more to come. She couldn't hide forever, couldn't let Marcus win. She had to fight back, take control of the story before it buried her alive. She sat up, her hazel eyes narrowing, a spark of defiance flickering through the exhaustion. The media was her weapon now, the same beast that had torn her apart. She'd record a video, an apology, something to shift the narrative. She wasn't racist, just strict, a mistake blown out of proportion. People would see that, wouldn't they? She grabbed the phone, its cracked screen flickering as she opened the camera app. Her hands trembled, but she steadied them, propping it on the dresser, the dim lamp her only light. She smoothed her hair, wiped her face with a damp towel, and hit record, her voice shaky but firm. "I'm Vanessa Reed," she began, staring into the lens, her throat tight. "You've seen the video, the flight, the old lady. I messed up. I thought she was faking, delaying takeoff. I didn't mean to hurt her, didn't know she was sick. I'm not a racist, I swear. I've served thousands of passengers, all kinds, 10 years without a complaint. This isn't me." Tears welled, unscripted, and she let them fall, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry. To her, to everyone. Please give me a chance to prove it." She stopped the recording, her chest heaving, and played it back. Her face was pale, eyes red, but sincere. It could work. It had to. She uploaded it to YouTube from the motel's shaky Wi-Fi, titling it "My Side of the Story." Her finger hovered over the post button, doubt gnawing at her. What if they twisted it again? But she had no choice. Marcus's lies were choking her out. She hit send, watching the views tick up, 10, 50, 100 in minutes. Comments rolled in, some vicious, "Too late, bigot," but others softer. "She sounds real." Her breath caught, a fragile hope blooming. 500 views, then 1,000, shares spreading across Twitter. "Maybe she's not the monster they say." One tweet read, she smirked, faint but real. She was winning them back, wasn't she? The TV blared, a news channel cutting into her thoughts. Breaking. Vanessa Reed releases apology video amid controversy. The anchor, a woman with sleek black hair, sounded skeptical, but the clip played, her tearful face filling the screen. Vanessa leaned forward, her pulse quickening. This was it, her lifeline. The views hit 5,000, comments shifting, a few defending her. "She's human, made a mistake," one said. "Give her a break," another urged. She stood, pacing the cramped room, her sneakers scuffing the carpet. She'd turned it around, clawed back some ground. Marcus couldn't stop this, could he? Then her phone buzzed, a new alert shattering her fragile triumph. Horizon Airlines releases damning evidence against Vanessa Reed. Her stomach dropped, her knees buckling as she opened the link. A video loaded, grainy but clear, dated 3 years back. It was her, in uniform, at a gate counter, her voice sharp, mocking a black passenger. "You think you're special?" Back of the line. The clip cut, then looped, her sneer louder each time, edited to sound crueler, longer. Her breath stopped. It was real, a bad day she barely remembered, but twisted, amplified. She'd snapped. At him, sure, but not like this, not this venomous. The comments exploded, her apology video drowned out. "Liar! Fake tears! She's been at it for years." Her views plummeted, replaced by the new clip, 10,000 hits in minutes. Then 20,000. News stations pounced, the same anchor, now smug. Reed's apology rings hollow as Horizon unveils her racist past. Vanessa's hands shook, the phone slipping, her smirk gone. Marcus. His PR team had struck, fast and lethal, turning her, olive branch, into a noose. She scrolled Twitter, her name trending again. Yunchi Vanessa lies replacing Vanessa Reed racist. Each post a dagger. Caught red-handed. Burn her. She stumbled to the window, peering through grimy blinds. Shadows moved outside, voices rising, a low chant growing. Vanessa! Vanessa! Her heart slammed against her ribs. Protesters, a dozen at first, then more, spilling into the motel, parking lot, their phones glowing, signs waving. Justice for Ruth. A man in a hoodie lit a match, igniting a crude effigy, her face taped to a straw body, flames licking up as the crowd cheered. She recoiled, her back hitting the wall, her breath a ragged gasp. Her apology was fuel now, her hope ash. Marcus hadn't just countered her, he'd obliterated her. The TV looped the old clip, her voice a ghost haunting the room. Back of the line. She sank to the floor, her knees drawn up, her hands clawing her hair. She'd thought she could fight, thought tears would sway them. But Marcus's team was a machine, relentless, turning her every move against her. The effigy burned, smoke curling under the door, the chants shaking the walls. Racist, liar. She'd served thousands, yes. But that one moment, real or not, was all they saw. Her white skin, her sharp words, a perfect villain for their rage. The racial fire she'd lit with Ruth was ablaze now, and Marcus fanned it higher. She crawled to the bed, her body trembling, the phone buzzing with threats. You're next. No hiding. She'd thought she'd won, thought the tide was turning. But Marcus had waited, his trap sprung at her peak. Her apology a gift. He'd twisted into damnation. The effigy's flames crackled outside, a siren wailing in the distance, too late to save her. She'd tried to fight, to reclaim her story. But Marcus's blow was surgical, ruthless, and final. Her chest heaved, a sob breaking free. This wasn't the end, she told herself, but the lie tasted bitter. The protesters closed in, and Marcus's shadow loomed larger than ever. Vanessa Reed crouched in the motel room, her back pressed to the wall, the acrid smoke from the burning effigy seeping through the cracked window, stinging her eyes. The protesters' chants pounded like a war drum. Justice for Ruth! There, voices a tidal wave crashing against the thin walls. Her white tee clung to her sweat-soaked skin, her blonde hair a wild tangle, her cracked phone silent now, its battery dead from endless threats. The apology video had backfired, Marcus Jackson's edited clip turning her tears into a lie, her hope into a target. The effigy's flames danced outside, her paper face curling into ash, and she knew she couldn't stay. She had to run, vanish, before the mob broke in. She grabbed her sneakers, lacing them with shaking hands, her ribs still sore from days of flight. The motel clerk's desk was empty as she slipped out, the neon sign buzzing overhead, casting jagged shadows on the lot. The protesters, 30 strong now, clustered near the entrance, their phones glowing, their shouts a feral roar. She darted the other way, cutting through a dumpster-lined alley, her breath sharp and shallow. The night air was thick, humid. Dallas's heat pressing down like a fist. She'd escape, find a bus, disappear until Marcus's storm blew over. She'd survived worse, hadn't she? Halfway down the alley, footsteps echoed, fast and heavy. She spun, her heart slamming against her chest. 5 figures emerged, hoods up, faces shadowed, their silhouettes lean and menacing. There she is, a deep voice growled. A man stepping forward, his dark skin catching the faint streetlight, his eyes blazing. Vanessa Reed, the racist bitch! Her stomach lurched. Vigilantes, not protesters, their fists clenched, their intent clear. I didn't mean it, she shouted, backing up, her sneakers slipping on wet gravel. It was a mistake. The man laughed, bitter and cold. Tell that to Ruth. They charged, a blur of motion, and Vanessa ran, her legs pumping, her lungs burning. She dodged a swinging fist, the air whistling past her ear, but another caught her shoulder, spinning her into a dumpster. Pain flared, hot and sharp as she stumbled, her hands scraping metal. "Please," she gasped, but a boot slammed into her ribs, cracking bone, stealing her breath. She crumpled, her knees hitting the ground, her vision swimming. "Justice for Ruth," a woman hissed, her braids swinging as she kicked Vanessa's side again, the snap of ribs echoing in the dark. Blood trickled from her lip, warm and coppery, as fists rained down, each blow a hammer of rage. She curled into a ball, her arms shielding her head, her screams muffled by the onslaught. A fist smashed her cheek, swelling her eyes shut. Another cracked her wrist as she flailed. "You don't belong anywhere," the leader snarled, his knuckles splitting her brow. Her world tilted, pain a white-hot fog, but she clawed at the gravel, dragging herself toward a chain-link fence. They laughed, circling, their boots scuffing the ground. She thought of Ruth, her frail collapse, her own sneer, and wondered if this was karma, swift and merciless, but she wouldn't die here. She lunged, her fingers hooking the fence, pulling herself up. A hand grabbed her ankle, yanking her back, but she kicked, her heel connecting with a jaw, a grunt of surprise buying her a second. She scrambled through, a gap, tearing her tee, her skin scraping wire, and bolted, her ribs screaming, her breath a wheeze. The vigilantes cursed, their footsteps pounding, but she veered into a side street, losing them in the maze of warehouses. She collapsed behind a rusted car, her body a wreck, blood dripping onto asphalt. She'd escaped, survived, her chest heaving with jagged triumph. She'd made it, hadn't she? Sirens wailed. Close now, red and blue lights flashing through, the dark. Relief flooded her, weak but real. Police finally, here to help. She staggered out, waving her good arm, her voice a croak. "Over here! They attacked me!" Two officers leapt from a cruiser, their faces hard, their uniforms crisp. One, a Latino with a buzz cut, eyed her, his hand on his holster. "Vanessa Reed?" he asked, his tone flat. She nodded, wincing. "Yeah, they beat me. I need help." The other, a black woman with tight braids, smirked, pulling cuffs from her belt. "You're under arrest." Vanessa's world spun, her legs buckling. "What? No, I'm the victim." The woman's smirk widened, snapping the cuffs on her swollen wrist, pain shooting up her arm. "Inciting violence," she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "Complaint says you started it." Vanessa's jaw dropped, blood trickling into her mouth. "That's a lie. They jumped me." The man shoved her toward the cruiser, his grip bruising. "Tell it to the judge." She twisted, her good eye darting, but the street was empty. No witnesses, no phones this time. Marcus. He'd done this, planted the complaint, turned her escape into a trap. The cruiser door slammed, locking her in, the stench of sweat and metal choking her. Her ribs throbbed, her wrist pulsed, her face a swollen mess. But the pain was nothing next to the betrayal. The officers climbed in, the woman muttering. "Should have left her to the mob." The man chuckled, starting the engine. "Jails, too good for her." Vanessa's head lolled against the seat, her breath shallow. She'd thought she'd survived the worst, thought the beating was her punishment. But Marcus's reach was a web, and this arrest was his next thread, spun from lies she couldn't unravel. At the station, they dragged her in, her sneakers scraping tile, her body limp. The desk sergeant, a burly black man, glared as they booked her, his fingers slamming the keyboard. "Vanessa Reed, huh? Famous now." She tried to speak, her voice a rasp. "I didn't incite anything," he snorted, tossing her into a holding cell, the bars clanging shut. The guards, mostly minorities, circled like sharks, their taunts sharp. "Racist gets what she deserves. No doctor for you." Her pleas for medical help echoed unanswered, her ribs grinding with every breath, her wrist swelling purple. She sank to the bench, her good hand clutching her side, blood crusting her face. Marcus hadn't just sent vigilantes, he'd rigged the system, his power bending law itself. The beating was brutal, but this arrest, this isolation was worse. A cage built on racial fury she'd ignited. She'd escaped the alley, thought she'd won a breath. But Marcus's trap snapped shut, and the jail was her grave. Her eye throbbed, her chest heaved, a single thought piercing the haze. This wasn't the end. It couldn't be. But as the guards laughed, she knew the next blow was coming, and it would break her. Vanessa Reed slumped on the holding cell bench, her swollen wrist pulsing with every heartbeat, her cracked ribs grinding against her shallow breaths. The jail's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh glow on her blood-crusted face, her white tee torn and filthy. The guards' taunts echoed through the bars. Racist trash, their voices a chorus of contempt as they denied her a doctor, her pleas swallowed by the clang of metal. Marcus Jackson's trap had snapped shut, the vigilante beating a prelude to this arrest, his doctored complaint pinning her for inciting violence. Her one good eye stung, her body a wreck, but her mind clung to a shred of fight. She wouldn't rot here. She couldn't. Footsteps approached, deliberate and slow, cutting through the guards' jeers. A man appeared, mid-40s, lanky with a scruffy beard, his brown coat rumpled, his green eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Vanessa Reed?" he asked, his voice low, steady. She nodded, wincing as she shifted, her ribs protesting. "Who are you?" He flashed a thin smile, pulling a bail slip from his pocket. "Name's Ethan. I saw what happened. Don't buy the hype. Posted your bail. Let's get you out." Her breath caught, a lifeline dangling in the dark. A stranger, stepping up when no one else would. "Why?" she rasped, suspicious but desperate. "Justice matters," he said simply, and the guard unlocked the cell, grumbling. Vanessa staggered out, leaning on Ethan as he guided her through the station, her sneakers dragging on the tile. The guards glared, one spitting on the floor as they passed, but Ethan's calm held her steady. Outside, the night air hit her like a slap, cool and sharp, the Dallas skyline a blur through her swollen eye. He led her to a beat-up sedan, helping her into the passenger seat, her body screaming with every move. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking, relief flooding her chest. He nodded, starting the engine. "There's a diner nearby, we'll talk." She sank back, hope flickering. Someone believed her, didn't they? The diner was a greasy spoon off the highway, its neon sign flickering open 24/7, the scent of burnt coffee and bacon thick in the air. Ethan slid into a booth, Vanessa collapsing opposite, her good hand clutching her side. A waitress, a tired woman with dyed blonde hair, dropped menus without a word, her eyes lingering on Vanessa's battered face. Ethan ordered coffee, his tone easy, then leaned in. "You're a mess, but you're not done. Tell me your side." Vanessa exhaled, her ribs aching, and spilled it all, her voice raw. "I didn't know she was sick, thought she was stalling. Marcus twisted it, the video, the arrest, all lies. I'm not what they say." Ethan listened, his pen scratching a notepad, his nod slow, thoughtful. "Rough spot," he said, sipping his coffee. "But people love a redemption story. You could turn this around." Her pulse quickened, a faint smirk tugging at her split lip. Redemption. She'd tried that with the apology, failed, but with Ethan's help, maybe this time it'd stick. "How?" she asked, leaning forward. He shrugged, casual. "Keep talking. Get it out there. Truth cuts through noise." She nodded, her hopes swelling, fragile but real. He was her ally, her way out. She rambled, her words tumbling, venting. About Marcus, the mob, the unfairness, her voice rising with every injustice. Then Ethan's phone buzzed and he glanced at it, his expression shifting, subtle but sharp. "Excuse me," he muttered, stepping outside. Vanessa sipped her coffee, the warmth soothing her throat, her mind racing. She'd fight, tell her story, claw back some dignity. Ethan returned, his smile tighter, and slid back in. "Keep going," he urged, but something felt off. His pen still, his eyes too keen. She ignored it, her desperation overriding doubt, and vented more, her tone bitter. "They're treating me like a criminal, all because she's black and I'm white. It's not fair." The words slipped out, unfiltered, and Ethan's eyebrow twitched, a flicker she missed. Minutes later, her phone buzzed, a new alert piercing her fragile calm. Leaked audio. Vanessa Reed blames race for her downfall. Her stomach dropped, her coffee spilling as she grabbed the device, her swollen wrist throbbing. She tapped. The link. A grainy recording playing, her voice clear, twisted. "They're treating me like a criminal, all because she's black and I'm white." It looped, her words a hammer, the context stripped, her rant now a racist tirade. Comments flooded in. "She's trash. No redemption here." The hate reigniting, fiercer than before. Her head snapped to Ethan, his face blank, his coat pocket bulging with a recorder's outline. "You bastard," she hissed, lunging across the table, her good hand clawing for him. He dodged, standing, his smile gone. "I'm a journalist, Vanessa. Truth sells." Her ribs screamed as she fell back, her breath a sob. He'd bailed her out, fed her hope, then stabbed her in the back. The diner's few patrons stared, phones out, filming her collapse. Outside, tires screeched, a familiar chant rising. "Justice for Ruth!" Protesters swarmed, alerted by the leak, their numbers doubling, a sea of fury crashing toward the diner. Ethan slipped out, vanishing into the night, leaving her exposed. Another alert hit. Horizon sues Vanessa Reed, again for slander, freezes assets. Marcus's team, relentless, had pounced, her bank accounts locked, her last 20 long gone. She stumbled to the window, the mob closing in, their signs glowing under streetlights. "Racist of the Year," one read, her face plastered across it, a crown drawn in blood-red ink. Her chest heaved, panic clawing her throat. Then flames erupted, her stolen sedan, parked by Ethan, torched by a Molotov cocktail, the fire trapping her inside the diner as glass shattered, the crowd roaring. She'd thought Ethan was salvation, thought she'd won a breath. But Marcus's web tightened, and this betrayal was her cage. Hey folks, what's your verdict on this twist? Was Vanessa naive to trust a stranger? Or did Ethan's betrayal hit too low? Comment number 1 if you think she should have seen it coming. Number 2 if you say he's the real villain here. Smash that like button if you're hooked on this chaos, and subscribe to catch every brutal turn. Ever been burned by someone you thought had your back? Spill it below. Now here's the kicker. Can Vanessa escape this fiery trap, or is Marcus about to unleash something even more savage? Vanessa Reed pressed herself against the diner's wall, the heat from her burning sedan searing through the shattered window, the protesters' roars a deafening storm outside. Flames licked the booth where she'd sat moments ago, the Molotov cocktail's wreckage turning the night into a furnace. Her white tee hung in tatters, her swollen wrist throbbing, her cracked ribs stabbing with every breath. Ethan's betrayal, the leaked audio, Marcus Jackson's slander suit, and now this fire. It was all his doing, a relentless machine grinding her down. But she wouldn't break. Not yet. She'd survived the vigilantes, the jail, the mob. She'd fight back, hit Marcus where it hurt. Smoke choked the air, thick and black, as the diner's patrons fled, their screams lost in the chaos. Vanessa coughed, her good eye streaming, and scanned for an exit. The front was a wall of bodies, protesters pounding the glass, their signs slashing the air. "Justice for Ruth!" She spotted a back door, half hidden behind a counter, and lunged, her sneakers slipping on spilled grease. Her ribs screamed, her wrist useless, but she shoved through, the door banging open into a trash-strewn alley. The fire's roar chased her, but she ran, her lungs burning, her mind racing. She needed a weapon, something to strike back. Marcus had taken everything, her job, her home, her name. She'd take something too. She stumbled into a pawn shop 2 blocks away, its flickering sign a beacon in the dark. The clerk, a grizzled man with a lazy eye, barely glanced up as she slapped her last crumpled 5 on the counter. "Burn her phone!" she rasped, her voice raw from smoke. He slid one over, a cheap black brick, and she grabbed it, darting to a corner. Her hands shook, but her mind sharpened, a memory surfacing from her early airline days. She'd trained in IT before switching to flights, knew the old crew portals, their weak passwords. Marcus was Horizon's COO, His dirt was in there somewhere. She'd hack it, expose him, turn the tables. Her fingers flew, the burner's tiny screen glowing as she guessed logins. Admin 123, Horizon 2020, until Flight Boss cracked it open. She smirked, faint but fierce, scrolling files, her swollen eyes squinting. There it was, a buried report, 5 years old, a whistleblower, Jamal Carter, a black mechanic who'd flagged safety violations. Marcus had hushed it. Jamal died in a hangar accident days later, the case sealed with cash. Her pulse surged. This was gold. Proof Marcus wasn't clean. She emailed it to a burner account, then posted it anonymously on Twitter. Horizon. COO covered up death? See the truth. She hit send. The tweet live. Her breath a jagged victory. The shop's TV blared, a news ticker catching her eye. Vanessa Reed trapped in diner fire. Protests rage. She froze, then grinned, bitter and wild. They thought she was dead. Perfect cover. The tweet spread. 500 retweets in minutes, then 1,000. Marcus exposed trending. Horizon stock dipped, a 2-point drop flashing on screen. Analysts buzzing. She'd done it, hit him back, her survival instinct a blade in his gut. She slipped out, the clerk oblivious, and hiked to a rural shack she'd seen on a layover 10 miles out, a crumbling hideout off a dirt road. She broke in, collapsing on a dusty cot, her smirk widening. She'd won, hadn't she? The night settled, crickets chirping, her body a wreck but her spirit alight. She'd turned Marcus's game against him, his own secrets now a noose. Twitter exploded. Justice for Jamal. Marcus is the real monster, the narrative shifting, her name fading from the top slot. She closed her eyes, her ribs easing, her swollen wrist numb. The shack's silence was a balm, her first. Breath in days. Horizon stock fell another point, headline screaming, QOO under fire. She'd clawed back power, flipped the script. Marcus couldn't touch her here, could he? Then a hum broke the quiet, low and mechanical, growing louder. Her good eye snapped open, her chest tightening. She staggered to the window, peering through cracked glass. Drones, 3 of them, black and sleek, hovering above the shack, their red lights blinking like predator eyes. Her stomach dropped, her smirk vanishing. Marcus. He'd tracked her somehow, his reach infinite. A sharp crack split the air, a sniper shot grazing her arm, blood blooming on her torn sleeve. She yelped, diving to the floor, her ribs howling as wood splintered above her. Another shot punched the wall, inches from her head, dust raining down. She crawled, her good arm dragging her, panic clawing her throat. The drones buzzed closer. There were a death knell. Marcus's private security on her tail. Her hack hadn't beaten him. It had enraged him, and this was his answer, lethal and swift. She'd thought she'd won, thought exposure would shield her. But Marcus didn't play fair, didn't flinch. She reached the back door, shoving it open, and bolted into the woods, branches slashing her face, her blood dripping a trail. The drones followed, their lights cutting the dark, a shot cracking a tree beside her. Her legs burned, her breath a wheeze, her triumph unraveling into a hunt. She ducked behind a oak, her body trembling, her arms slick with blood. The drones circled, relentless, their hum a taunt. Marcus hadn't just countered her, he'd unleashed a war, his power a hammer she couldn't dodge. The whistleblower leak was her ace, but he'd turned it into her death warrant, his retaliation a sniper's precision. She'd escaped the diner, thought she'd struck gold, but this was his checkmate, a hunt she couldn't outrun. Her chest heaved, a sob breaking free. She'd fought to survive, to hit back, but Marcus's next move was closing in, and it would bury her. Vanessa Reed huddled behind the gnarled oak, her breath a shallow rasp. The drone's hum slicing through the humid Dallas night like a blade. Blood oozed from her grazed arm, soaking her tattered white tee, her swollen wrist throbbing, her cracked ribs grinding with every twitch. The sniper shots had missed by inches, wood splinters still lodged in her hair. Marcus Jackson's private security hunting her like prey. She'd hacked Horizon's database, leaked the whistleblower file on Jamal Carter, thought she'd turned the tide with all Marcus exposed trending. Her smirk from the shack was gone, replaced by a grimace as the drones circled, their red lights piercing the dark. She'd wounded him, hadn't she? She'd fight on. She gripped a jagged branch, her good hand slick with sweat, and bolted, weaving through the woods, branches clawing her face. Her sneakers sank into mud, her legs trembling, but she pushed, the shack's smoking ruin fading behind her. The drones followed, relentless, their buzz a swarm she couldn't shake. She needed a phone, a reporter, someone to amplify Jamal's story before Marcus buried it. Buried her. Her lungs burned, her vision blurring, but a gas station glowed ahead, its yellow sign a faint hope. She stumbled in, the clerk, a pimply teen gaping at her bloodied mess. "Phone?" she croaked, slamming the counter. He slid a landline over, his eyes wide. She dialed, her fingers fumbling. A number from memory, a reporter she'd met years back, Claire Voss, a bulldog with a byline. "Claire, it's Vanessa Reed," she gasped as the line clicked. "I've got proof. Marcus Jackson killed a whistleblower. Jamal Carter covered it up. It's online, check Twitter." Claire's voice crackled, sharp and eager. "Reed, the flight attendant? This is big if it holds. Stay on, I'm pulling it up." Vanessa's chest heaved, a spark of triumph flaring. She'd done it, handed Claire the torch, the truth about Marcus spreading like wildfire. The teen stared, but she ignored him, her hope surging. She'd win now, wouldn't she? Then the line cut, a dead tone blaring in her ear. "Claire!" she shouted, slamming the receiver, her ribs jolting with pain. The TV above the counter flickered, a news ticker scrolling. Vanessa Reed's latest lie, fabricated audio claims Horizon's COO framed her. Her stomach dropped, her knees buckling. She gripped the counter, staring as the anchor, a smug man, in a red tie, spoke. Breaking. Horizon Airlines releases a confession from Vanessa Reed, admitting she framed COO Marcus Jackson out of jealousy. A grainy audio played, her voice warped but clear. "I made it up. Jamal's death. All of it to get back at him." Vanessa's jaw fell, her blood running cold. Fake. She'd never said it, never confessed, but Marcus's hackers had struck, twisting her hack into a lie. The clerk's eyes narrowed, his hand inching toward a bat under the counter. "You're her," he muttered, stepping back. She shook her head, her voice a rasp. "It's not true," but Twitter lit up on his phone. Vanessa lies surging, her leak discredited. "She's insane," one tweet read. "Racist and a liar," another spat. The nation turned again, her allies evaporating, even Claire's line now dead when she redialed. Her chest caved, her triumph ash. Outside, tires screeched, headlights blinding her through the glass. The shack's drones had tracked her, Marcus's men closing in. She bolted for the back, but the clerk swung the bat, grazing her shoulder, pain flaring as she crashed through a storeroom door. The gas station trembled, a crash echoing, the front window shattering. She peeked out, her good eye wide, as black SUVs roared up, men in tactical gear spilling out, torches lighting the night. They weren't here to arrest, they were here to end her. A Molotov cocktail arced, the shack she'd fled now a bonfire, flames licking the trees, her trail erased. She ran, her sneakers pounding gravel, the woods swallowing her again. Helicopters thumped overhead, spotlights sweeping, pinning her like a moth. Her arm bled, her ribs cracked, but she dove into a ditch, mud coating her, her breath a wheeze. The mob arrived, thousands now, their chants a tidal wave. Justice for Ruth, justice for Jamal. Signs waved, her face on everyone, a monster in ink. Her leak had backfired, Marcus's fake confession drowning it, his stock rebounding as headlines flipped, COO cleared, Reed's lies exposed. She'd thought she'd struck gold, thought the truth would shield her, but Marcus had turned it into her death knell. The spotlight locked on her, boots crashing through brush, the mob's roar deafening. She scrambled up, her legs jelly, her mind screaming. She'd exposed Jamal's death, handed Claire the proof, thought she'd flipped the script. But Marcus's hackers were faster, his reach deeper, his lie a sledgehammer smashing her last stand. The The helicopters hovered, their blades a storm, the mob closing in, a sea of fury she'd ignited. Her evidence was racist lies now, her name a curse, her body a target. She'd fought to survive, to hit back. But Marcus's blow was total, her collapse absolute. She fell, mud sucking her down, the lights blinding, the end rushing in. Vanessa Reed clawed her way out of the muddy ditch, her sneakers sinking into the sodden earth, the helicopter spotlights searing her good eye as the mob's chants roared through the Dallas woods. Her white tee was a shredded rag, soaked with blood and muck, her swollen wrist limp, her cracked ribs a jagged agony with every gasp. Marcus Jackson's fake confession had crushed her leak about Jamal Carter, turning her truth into a lie, his drones and mob driving her to this breaking point. She'd lost everything, her job, her home, her name. But she wouldn't die running. She'd face him, end this on her terms. She staggered through the trees, her breath a wheeze, the helicopters circling like vultures, their thump a heartbeat in the night. Her grazed arm throbbed, blood dripping a trail, but she pushed on, her mind a razor's edge. A warehouse loomed ahead, abandoned, its rusted walls a hulking shadow against the sky. She'd seen it on a layover, a forgotten husk off the highway. If Marcus was hunting her, he'd find her here, and she'd make him pay. She slipped through a broken window, glass crunching underfoot, the air inside stale with dust and oil. Her good hand gripped a shard, a crude weapon, her body trembling but resolute. The warehouse was a cavern of shadows, steel beams towering, crates rotting in corners. She crept to the center, her sneakers silent on concrete, her ears straining. Then a voice cut the dark, low and smooth, chilling her spine. Vanessa. She spun, her shard raised, and there he was, Marcus Jackson, alone, his charcoal suit pristine, his dark skin gleaming under a flickering bulb. 6'3", broad and unyielding, his brown eyes locked on her, a predator's calm. "You're persistent," he said, stepping closer, his polished shoes clicking. "I'll give you that." Her chest heaved, her voice a rasp. "You've ruined me." He smirked, faint but cold, adjusting his cufflinks with deliberate ease. "You ruined yourself, Vanessa. Dragging my mother off that plane, you lit the match." She lunged, her shards slashing, rage fueling her broken body. "Liar!" He sidestepped, smooth as silk, her strike hitting air, her ribs screaming as she stumbled. "I'm not the liar," he said, circling her, his tone mocking. "Jamal Carter. Nice try, but you're no hero. I've been teaching you a lesson about power, about race. You assumed she didn't belong. Look where that got you." Her blood boiled, her good eye blazing. "You framed me, the audio, the arrest, all of it." Marcus chuckled, a sound that iced her veins. "Framed? No, Vanessa. I exposed you. Every step, every fall, you earned. The mob, the media, the drones, my design. You're a symbol now, a warning." She swung again, her shard grazing his sleeve, a thin red line blooming. He flinched, his smirk fading, and she seized it, tackling him, her weight slamming him to the ground. "I'll kill you," she snarled, her good hand pinning his throat, her shard poised. His eyes widened, but his lips curled, a grin that stopped her cold. "Go ahead," he whispered. "Finish it." Her hand shook, her breath a sob, victory pulsing through her. She'd won, hadn't she? She'd brought him down, turned his game against him. Then sirens wailed, piercing the night, red and blue lights flooding the warehouse through cracked windows. She froze, her shard hovering, Marcus's grin widening. "Too late," he said, and the doors burst open. SWAT storming in, rifles raised, shouts echoing. "Drop it!" She dropped the shard, her hands up, but they tackled her, her ribs cracking anew, her face slamming concrete. Marcus rolled free, limping to his feet, his suit torn, his hand clutching his grazed arm, a perfect victim. "Help!" he gasped, his voice weak, theatrical. "She attacked me." Vanessa screamed, thrashing under the SWAT's weight, her good eye wild. "He's lying. He set this up." But they cuffed her, her swollen wrist snapping, pain blinding. Her as they hauled her up. Marcus straightened, his limp exaggerated, his eyes glinting with triumph. "She's unstable, officers. I came to reason with her, and this." He gestured to his arm, blood staining his sleeve, a staged wound. The SWAT leader, a grizzled white man, nodded, his grip tightening on Vanessa. "You're done, lady." They dragged her out, her sneakers scraping, her body a wreck, the mob's chants swelling as helicopters hovered. "Assaulting an executive," the leader barked, shoving her into a van, the door slamming. Marcus followed, limping for the cameras now flashing outside, his face a mask of pain, his suit artfully disheveled. "I tried to help her," he told a reporter, his voice breaking, "but she's beyond reason." Vanessa's head lolled, her good eye locked on him through the van's window, his grin flashing as he turned away. This was his setup, his checkmate. Her fight twisted into his victory. The van lurched, the jail looming again, her fate sealed. "Life in prison," a cop muttered, his radio crackling with orders. Marcus whispered as she'd been dragged off, his breath hot in her ear. "You'll never outrun this." Her chest heaved, her defiance crumbling, tears mixing with blood. She'd faced him, thought she'd won, her shard inches from his throat. But he'd played her, his trap a masterpiece, her rage his weapon. The mob cheered, believing his act. The racial fire she'd lit now his crown. She'd fought to the end, but Marcus's blow was final, her stand her undoing. Vanessa Reed sat shackled in a maximum security cell, the cold steel cuffs biting into her swollen wrist, her cracked ribs a dull ache beneath the orange jumpsuit. The concrete walls loomed, gray and unyielding, the air thick with bleach and despair. Her good eye, still bruised, stared blankly at the floor, her blonde hair matted, her once crisp authority reduced to a hollow shell. Marcus Jackson's trap in the warehouse had sealed her fate, his staged victimhood landing her here, charged with assaulting an executive, facing life behind bars. The mob's cheers still echoed in her skull, his whispered taunt. "You'll never outrun this." A chain she couldn't break. She'd fought, lost, and now she waited, broken. Footsteps clacked down the corridor, slow and deliberate, cutting through the prison's hum of shouts and clangs. A guard, a stocky woman with a shaved head, stopped at her cell, her brown eyes unreadable. She slid a folded note through the bars, her voice gruff. "For you." Vanessa's brow furrowed, her good hand trembling as she took it, the paper crisp against her bruised fingers. She unfolded it, the words in neat, shaky script. "You didn't deserve this." Her breath caught, her chest tightening. No signature, but the guard lingered, her gaze flickering with something, pity maybe, or curiosity. Vanessa clutched the note, her mind racing. Who? Not Marcus. His victory was complete. Not Lila, not Jake. They'd cut her off. Her swollen eye narrowed, hope a faint ember in the dark. Then the guard spoke, low and firm. "Visitor. Now." Vanessa stood, her ribs protesting, her shackles rattling as the guard unlocked the cell, leading her down a stark hall. The visitor room was a steel box, a plexiglass wall splitting it, a single chair waiting. She shuffled in, her jumpsuit dragging, and froze. There, beyond the glass, sat Ruth Jackson, the frail old lady she'd dragged off the plane, alive, upright, her dark eyes piercing Vanessa's soul. Ruth's silver hair was pulled back, her faded gray coat swapped for a simple black dress, her knobby hands resting on a cane. No wheelchair, no stretcher, just a steady gaze that pinned Vanessa in place. The guard shut the door, leaving them alone, the silence a weight crushing Vanessa's chest. "You," she rasped, her voice a dry croak, sinking into the chair. Ruth nodded, slow and deliberate, her lips parting in a thin, icy smile. "Me," she said, her tone soft but sharp, a blade wrapped in velvet. Vanessa's shackles clinked as she leaned forward, her good eye wide. "You're supposed to be sick, dying," Marcus said. Ruth's smile widened, her eyes glinting with a fire Vanessa hadn't seen on that plane. "Marcus didn't say anything I didn't tell him to," she replied, her voice steady, cutting. Vanessa's stomach dropped, her breath a gasp. What? Ruth leaned closer, her cane tapping the floor, her frail frame a lie hiding steel. You think my son did this alone? He's my pawn, Vanessa. I planned it all. Every step, every fall. You didn't just kick me off a plane, you kicked me for years. Every flight, every sneer, every time you looked at me and saw less. Vanessa's mind reeled, her shackles digging deeper as she gripped the edge of the chair, her cracked ribs forgotten. Years? I don't even know you. Ruth's laugh was brittle, a sound that chilled the room. You don't remember, but I do. 15 flights, maybe more, over a decade. You, in that uniform, barking orders, shoving me to the back, questioning my ticket, my place. Always white, always in charge, always blind. That day on Flight 217, the last straw. I'd had enough. Vanessa's jaw slackened, her memory a fog. Ruth's face a ghost from countless faces she'd dismissed. Ruth's cane tapped again, her voice dropping, cold and final. I knew Marcus's power, knew he'd follow my lead. I staged it, the collapse, the ticket, all of it. You took the bait, and I pulled the strings. The protests? I funded them, whispered to the right ears. The media, the leaks, the drones, my design. Marcus played his part, but this was my revenge. Vanessa's chest heaved, her good eye blurring with tears. Rage, disbelief. You ruined me, my life. For what? Some old grudges? Ruth's smile vanished, her gaze a dagger. For dignity, Vanessa. You took mine, every flight, every look. I took yours piece by piece. Vanessa lunged, her shackles yanking her back, her scream echoing off the steel. You're insane. I didn't deserve this. Ruth stood, slow and steady, her cane a scepter, her frail voice a whip. You did. I took your life like you took my dignity, and I'd do it again. She turned, her black dress rustling, and walked out, her steps firm, no tremble, no weakness. Vanessa pounded, the plexiglass, her swollen wrists snapping anew, her cries raw. Come back! You can't do this! But Ruth was gone, free, her shadow fading down the hall, the guard's boots clacking as she returned. Vanessa sank, her body crumpling, her screams a wail lost in the prison's depths. The note fluttered to the floor. You didn't deserve this. A lie, a taunt, Ruth's final cut. She'd thought Marcus was the monster, his power her doom, but Ruth was the architect, her quiet pain a storm Vanessa had fed for years. Every microaggression, every assumption had built this, and Ruth had watched her fall, step by calculated step. The racial fire Vanessa had lit wasn't Marcus's crown, it was Ruth's. Her justice, a slow, cold burn that left Vanessa rotting. The guard hauled her up, her jumpsuit dragging, her body a shell as they shoved her back to the cell. The bars clanged shut, her fate sealed, life in a cage Ruth had forged. She'd fought Marcus, thought she'd lost to him, but Ruth was the true victor. Her frailty a mask, her revenge absolute. Vanessa's sobs echoed, her shackles a weight she'd wear forever. The old lady's quiet nod, her last sight. Ruth had taken everything, and Vanessa, blind to her own sins, had handed her the keys. This gripping tale of Vanessa Reed's downfall offers profound lessons rooted in the consequences of unchecked prejudice and the power of accountability. First, it underscores how assumptions can blind us. Vanessa's snap judgment about Ruth Jackson, based on her appearance and race, ignited a chain reaction that demolished her life, showing that bias isn't just a fleeting thought, it's a loaded gun. We learn that small actions, repeated over time, build a ledger of harm, as Ruth's revenge stemmed from years of Vanessa's microaggressions, not just one flight. It's a stark reminder that what we dismiss as routine can fester into someone else's breaking point. Second, the story reveals the fragility of power built on arrogance. Vanessa's authority crumbled when faced with Marcus and Ruth's calculated retaliation, proving that dominance without empathy is a house of cards. Ruth's triumph teaches us that resilience can outlast oppression, turning victimhood into vengeance with chilling precision. The twist, with Ruth as the mastermind, flips the narrative, urging us to question who truly holds the reins in conflicts we think we understand. Finally, it's a cautionary tale about accountability's reach. Vanessa couldn't outrun her past, and Marcus's amplification of her sins shows how technology and public outrage can amplify justice, or injustice, beyond control. We're left asking, how do we ensure our actions align with fairness? Not just rules. So what do you think, folks? Did Vanessa's fate feel like justice served, or did Ruth's revenge go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if this story shook you, and subscribe for more raw tales of reckoning. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for sticking with us through this wild ride. Wishing you strength to face your own battles with wisdom and grace.